Good morning, Georgia. I love this state. It's always warm and beautiful, and the people are so friendly, and the food is so good. Right now, I am going to a soiree brunch to celebrate, to honor all the cancer survivors. Only thing I can say is love on your people and those who have cancer or are surviving this horrible disease. Please donate this month to any organization to help fight cancer. Talk to you later.
There are so many myths surrounding breast cancer. I was sharing with Sade earlier a little bit. I used to have patients tell me all the time, well, breast cancer don't run in my family. And so I would always say, well, it starts with someone in the family. And I can remember
That's a good way to put that. I never thought of it that way.
listening as a teenager to my
Mhm.
mom and my aunts talk about how cancer didn't run on our side of the family. Well, my mom died of a brain tumor. Her brother died of the same brain tumor. My aunt has breast cancer now, but she's doing great. And we have several other family members with other different cancers. So you always have to be aware of even your genetics when it comes to cancer, not just breast cancer. Many people don't know that if you have a family history of any type of cancer, your insurance will cover you to get genetic testing. Because if you do have certain genes, then you want to make wise choices, like what Angelina Jolie did.
Yeah.
She knew what she had, so she went ahead and took care of it. And so, as far as breast cancer, we know that Caucasian women are likely to develop breast cancer, but unfortunately, African American women die from it more so because we seek later treatments. We take care of everybody. As you sat here and shared, we were taking care of everybody. And I think just as a race, we've been always taught just by from ancestors on down, fight through it, fight through it, fight through it. And so I had a patient one time tell me, and she said, Latasha, God did not tell me that this was breast cancer. And she was like, I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm not going to have a biopsy. And I said, well, sometimes the God in this is that you came here today, you have the resources to treat this. So utilize that faith. I said, faith without works is dead. And she was a church member of mine. And so, and I can remember she didn't do anything about it. And a year later, we had a women's conference at church. Wow. And she called me back and she said, I'm going to do something about my health. Well, when we found that area in her breast, it was probably half of the size of a pencil eraser. When she came back a year later, she had to have a mastectomy. It had grew that fast. Whereas if she would have taken care of it when she first found it, she could have saved her breast. So I always, I encourage everybody to get their mammograms, but a lot of information is not shared with us as African Americans. Make sure you're getting your mammogram yearly. There are some organizations, I think like the American Cancer Society, the American College of Internal Medicine, they recommend getting your mammogram every 2 years. But we follow the American College of Radiology recommendation of every year because if a cancer is going to grow in your breast, it's going to take that cancer 6 months to a year to grow. And so if you wait in those 2 years, it's just steady growing and growing. And so I know you may have heard about dense breast tissue. If you have dense breast tissue, now it's a law that it's supposed to be in your report. And if you see that you have dense breast tissue, make sure you're getting additional screening tests like an MRI, MBI, whole breast ultrasound, because cancer shows up white on the mammogram and dense breast tissue is white. So it tends to hide in that dense breast tissue. And so you want to make sure you get supplemental screenings for that. Male breast cancer. Tell your men folk we have we have 13 male in active treatment in Miller, Georgia for breast cancer within 18 months. It's unheard of.
Yeah.
So we always say, it has to be something in the water. And I love to share Mr. Leroy's story. I'm not violating HIPAA because he has given us perpetual consent to share his story. And remember talking to him. He needed a biopsy. And he said, Latasha, this is nothing. I just been lifting weights in the gym and I've strained a muscle in my chest. And I said, Mr. Leroy, because sometimes I have to get right on patient level. I said, I'm going to come to your house and get you. You don't come back for his biopsy. Because I knew it was cancer. But I couldn't tell him that. And he said, I'm coming back, but it's nothing. Well, Mr. Leroy ended up having to have a mastectomy. He was triple negative. And he had positive genetic markers.
Wow.
And so he tells his story everywhere now. And he said, listen. When they tell you something, to listen. And so just make sure you know that you're listening at your body, you're telling it, and share the knowledge. Don't hold it. Share it with your family, share it with your friends and everyone, and make sure that they're getting screened. Because breast cancer is not a death sentence when it's caught early. But that's the key to it, was catching it early. The treatment options now are very new. They're working, even with triple negative. You used to hear triple negative, and it was automatic death sentence for Black women. And now they have new treatment options available for that also. So just make sure that you're in tune with your body and taking care of yourself. Just because if we have to take care of you love taking care of your mother, right? So you got to take care of yourself so you can be there for her.
Yes, you know, it should have scared me. Seriously, because I haven't had a mammogram in years because, like you said, they tell you every 2 years, and I'm thinking, and then recently my sister had to went and got one, and she didn't tell me because she was scared about something she thought she saw. She was like, I'm not gonna tell anybody. And that's what I wanted to talk about, all these secrets all the time. Why are we so afraid to tell people when we're hurting? Why?
I think that's just how we were taught.
Yeah.
I think we were taught that you know how they used to always say, it's certain stuff you don't talk about in the house. And so I think that's a lot of it. It's just the way we were raised. And another thing is, don't let you don't have insurance, don't let that be a deterrent for you. We have plenty of grant funds available that will cover your mammogram. Even when you come in for your mammogram, you get a screening, you need a diagnostic, then you need a biopsy. We'll cover it up until biopsy. If you need surgery and it comes back as breast cancer, then women's state Medicaid automatically kick in for you.
Okay.
And so there's so many resources out there. Recently, 2 years ago, I wrote a grant through Senator Warnock's office for $2 million, and we was awarded that for our mobile unit.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And so we're going to be bringing mammograms directly to the community starting in January. We already have funds that we're building up to cover women on that mobile as well. And so there should not be any excuse for you to get your mammogram. And then one thing, I just want to piggyback off what you said, how we hold stuff in. And I know as Black women, we do.
Yeah.
And I can remember right after I wrote this grant, and it was the first time a grant of that size had been written at the hospital. And one of the ladies sent the email. And so she sent an email wanting to know who had written the grant. And so she responded, and she was actually like a CEO of one of our small hospitals. And she said, well, the girl from the breast center wrote the grant. And so I was like, wait a minute now. The girl from the breast center wrote the grant. And I was like, hold on now. She must have known right from 1763 Swan Drive. So, and we got to speak up for ourselves.
Oh, yes.
In the past, I would have let that slip. Honey, I was hitting every diversity committee. I was like, this is gonna fly. So speak up for yourself, no matter if it's your health or somebody do you wrong. Have a conversation and speak up about it.
Thank you so much. I was thinking about what you said, and I want to go back, rewind a little bit when you said dense breast tissue. Describe that, because when you say it, everybody has in their mind think about what they think it is. What is it really?
So your breasts are either fatty replaced or they're dense. So if they're fatty replaced, you just have fat in your breast and no fibrous tissue in your breast. And so dense breast is fibrous tissue. And
Okay,
again, it's white. It's
okay.
just white.
Is it hard? Does it make your breast feel
No,
hard?
you do. It can be painful sometimes.
Okay,
Because you may have heard like fibrocystic
yes. Uh-huh.
breast, so it can
Mhm.
create fibrocystic changes in your breast. But cancer, again, it tends to hide in that tissue.
Mhm.
And we have found several cancers where the patient had a mammogram, then she had an ultrasound. The ultrasound picked up a little bit of that dense tissue, then they ended up having an MRI. And so then they picked up the cancer. And I have dense breast, so I have to get a mammogram. I get my mammogram every year, then every other year I get an MRI just to keep.
Okay. I appreciate you saying that because I didn't know that the MRI was just as important as the actual breast, mammogram. So that's really good knowledge to know. Also, I have wanted to ask you about, and I've been hearing a lot, reading a lot about sugar. Does cancer, they say there's like a connection between eating too much sweets and how cancer loves sugar.
It does. It does feed off of sugar.
Okay.
So if you have a high estrogen in your body, it loves that. Yeah, it loves that. And so it will feed off of sugar. So diet is important too, to help, there's some things we can't change genetically when it comes to cancer, but there are some risk factors that we can change, like what we eat, exercise, smoking, drinking, of course, and it's everything in moderation. But yeah, sugar does feed cancer. And one
That's
other
good to
thing,
know.
caffeine, because I hear this a lot too. Caffeine does cause breast pain if you have an excessive
Wow.
amount.
Didn't know that.
And a lot of people are saying, well, another myth I've heard, well, my breasts aren't hurting. Well, breast cancer, that's a clue for me that you may have something going on because
Uh-oh.
breast cancer typically don't hurt. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it typically don't hurt when you have breast cancer unless you have an advanced cancer. I was telling her we had a patient today, bless her heart, 83 years old. She came in and she was like, I just felt this lump last week. Y'all, it was coming out her skin. It had invaded through the tissue. It was red, stinky,
Lord.
pussy, everything. And she's just said, I'm not gonna do anything about it. Cause she's 83. Her daughter convinced her to come. But when you feel something like that, go ahead and see about it. Cause that probably been there for a minute. And then we had a lady transition into a male 2 weeks ago. She was getting ready for her final surgery and they found a lump. And so they told her, you got to go and get this checked out before you final surgery. And sweetest person ever, y'all. Came back, she was like, you know what? I've been had this in my breast for like 6 or 7 years. And it came back positive as cancer.
Wow.
Yes. So I wonder, how that's going to affect the final stages of surgery. Because, and we even tried to convince her, one of our nurses, she was like, now, how do you identify? Because we know it's cancer. And so she was like, I identify as male. And she was trying to convince her, you sure you want to just go ahead and check? Because now she won't be eligible for women's state Medicaid.
Oh.
Yeah. And we have written to, when Mr. Leroy got diagnosed, I called Governor Kemp's office. I was like, this is not fair. Like, men get breast cancer too, and so fortunately, we just had to put him on a payment plan and hospital coverage. But yeah, so we're trying to advocate through Congress for men also.
I think that's wonderful.